Do you have like any major concerns with legalization?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think maybe it's not really relevant to legalization. However, like media exposure on cannabis use, I think we've sort of like glamorized it a little bit and made it like look cool. So I'm worried about like adolescent use mainly. So I don't know if necessarily legalization is the reason why there's more media exposure, but it could be. But I am sort of worried about like more adolescent use in states that do have it legalized, which again, I don't know the statistics, maybe is completely opposite. Maybe more adolescents are using in a more restrictive state. However, I am worried about adolescent use, yeah.
Yeah.
I even had I could just go in for fact or fact. I think it's unfair that any states don't have rights to this, and I think that's kind of where I have difficulty with saying I don't want it to be federally legalized. Obviously, every state should have it, every country should have it. In the opiate crisis, we see how bad things currently are, and I think that's just where we need to land, and I think it is being treated so much more of a legalizing a policy type thing, so I think that is what keeps people in different levels. We still have people in prison because of this, but I've been on a magazine cover smoking cannabis. So
it stands out in the current tense of we shouldn't be doing that. I think there is something that's sort of sad, is that if someone were to want to use cannabis to deal with one form of life or another, deal with the same way that they might have a drink after a day of work, depending on what state they're in, they would go to jail, and that's really kind of horrendous to think that that's the way that it just is for a lot of the U.S. And realistically, it creates this sort of open door policy where the police or federal regulators can kind of just choose to go after you because this moment presents itself to be
is problematic. Where we live in Washington is very close to the Idaho border, and I know folks that have definitely taken products into Idaho that are not considered legal, and that can be problematic. I also know that people from Idaho come to Washington to get products so that they can use them in their home. So the inconsistency is problematic and definitely causes trouble where there could be no troubles from. We also see that it's safer than alcohol. And alcohol, you can go anywhere and use alcohol. So why can we not use cannabis safely in our homes?
I don't know if you've heard the statement, but being on the border area, it's okay, you go over to Idaho for the tobacco and you come over to Washington for the cannabis.
That's exactly
and that's
right.
how you do it.